Hello, and welcome to video number 40 of the Unity Mega Man tutorial series. This is actually the last video of the series finale. And what we're going to basically do in this video is just go over the project. We're not going to code anything. I've already built everything out. So we're going to be replicating the BombMan stage as pretty close to what the original is. And it's kind of like a senior project in a way where you take everything that you've learned throughout all the other videos and the projects and you kind of put it all together and showcase what you've learned. So if you haven't been following this series, there's actually 39 videos before this one. So if you'd like, you can watch this one, see what the end product's going to be, and then you can go back and start from the beginning if you'd like. So all the source code, project files, everything is all up on my GitHub. Description is in the link is in the description of the video. Otherwise, we're just going to take a look at this, and I'm just going to go over the pieces and how I kind of put it together. So let's start from the beginning. So we're going to start with the title scene. It's going to go to the stage select scene, so we only have the BombMan stage, so let's just start that up. 100,000. And I'm going to put on invincibility just so I get killed easily because I'm really good at these things. So if you play the original, you start out with 5 Kamadomas kind of popping out of nowhere, and so if you kill them, and the thing about the game is if you go back, you backtrack, things come back to life, or they come back in the scene. So that's basically how Mega Man operates in the first one, and I'm pretty sure in the other ones too. So if we go ahead, we're just going to take a look at the bottom part of the scene first. So we got all these Kamadomas coming back. Then we basically hit the bombs. And then we're going to get through the bombs. And then we hit 3 screwdrivers. And then you have a big weapon part energy, and then these 2 small life energies. And then you have the ladder. And if we go up the ladder, then you move into the next part, which has 4 blasters and a big life energy. And the thing about it is when you go back from the transition, things reappear. So I'm going to just stop it right there for now. And let's just go take a look at some of the code. The previous project, number 39, was kind of like a change. It was a changes video and project, which basically I implemented a whole bunch of changes, things I needed to fix, things that need to be tweaked. And after the video, I actually have incorporated a whole lot more to it. So there are going to probably be some things in these files that you may see that's like, yo, you don't know anything about it because you haven't seen it yet. So they're actually all uploaded in Project 39 on GitHub, and you'll obviously, if you download this project, you'll have them too. So, like this whole thing with the weapons menu palette, that's something new. Anyway, the only things that are of interest in this is the fact that I serialized the world view coordinates because we need to basically see in the BombMan stage where we are with the positioning of the camera and everything. So we can have enemies jump out of nowhere and stuff like that. And so I basically make this public, and I hide it in the inspector so that we can access it from our other scenes. The other one is the get world view coordinates. And what I did was originally it was at 1.1 all around, or the 1.1. So I shaved off 0.05, so it's a little bit more inward so that they don't take as long to get into the scene if they're jumping in. So those are the only changes for this video that I've done in the game manager file. All of the other changes are basically in the previous project, so you can go and look at the revision history on GitHub and you can see all the changes that I made. And then we're going to look at the BombMan stage now. This BombMan stage originally had the elements of being able to move the door, open the door, close the door, and some other things. So it's a lot more fleshed out now. And I'm not going to go over every single line because it's over 1,000 lines of code. because there's a lot of creating objects and moving things around and all that. I'm just going to go over the ideas, and you can download the file or go look at it, and you can see basically step by step. And so we have basically got the size information for this. It's a tile map world, so we need information on the size of the tiles. These are all originally in here having to do with the doorways and the flashing of the background image when you hit BombMan's area. And then these are new, getting the player, position the player, and the BombMan. This is new. Basically, Killer Bomb, Mambu, and the Susies kind of like are a little bit different when it has to do with their spawning and movement and stuff. And then here's basically the world view. This is from the game manager, so this is how I can tell where objects are, if they've left the scene to remove them, and if they basically hit the trigger point of bringing them back to bring them back in. And then these are the statuses. So what I use is a dictionary to keep track of all the objects, whether they're active or not. So this is basically object active, so it'll have the name of the enemy and whether it's active or not as a Boolean. And then all their positions of where they're spawned at, and the scene settings. So basically the level is constructed of 5 states. Level play is when you're basically going through the level. The intro to the boss fight, which is the animation. The actual boss fight, which basically is just pretty much just looping the audio. And then the player victory, where you do the score tally and everything, and then you move to the next scene. In this case, when you exit this level, you go back to the stage select, which we'll see. There's actually also a demo video that I put out that you can watch of playing through the entire thing without any interruption. And then these are all the audio clips, tile map objects that we need access to, the bonus item objects that we use in this stage, all the enemy prefabs that we use in the stage, and then an array of the camera transitions, because the camera transitions are a little different. So they're located in spots for their starts, but when you exit to transition, obviously you can't go to the same place because it's a little bit different in the positioning. So after the transition, we move them. So we need access to all those, and that's basically what this array is for. And then this basically in here, I'm not going to really go through this, but in the awake, we initialize all of our objects to false because they're not active yet. Once they become active, then they'll get set to true. So all the Susies, killer bombs, blasters, etc. And then all their positionings. And so before we can look at the positionings, we actually have to look at this function that I have in the file called tile world position. So which is actually down here at the bottom. So all this is basically you give it the tile number, and then it'll basically calculate what the X position or Y position, because it happens to be the same size, which is 16 pixels, or in this case 0.16 for the X and the Y. And then what we have, I have on here is an offset, which is basically I just put it in the center. So by default, whatever tile number you give it, it'll put you in the center of that tile on the position. So, excuse me. And then I also have this function here called between to check and see if A is between B with a margin. So we use this to basically see where we are standing or where we are in the map, and that's how we're going to know if we're going to basically initialize these objects. So let's go back up here. So basically all the Kamadomas, all their world positions, and these are their Ys, taking into account that they're touching the ground. So obviously it's not going to be a nice round number because of physics and the way that the tile map is set up and all that. And then the bomb launchers, the screwdriver positions, blasters, sniper joes, killer bomb. There's only one killer bomb because as soon as you say, it'll just keep going to the end of the scene, and once it exits the camera view, it just gets repositioned on the other side of the camera to come back in. If you happen to destroy it, then it'll just recreate the same one. So there's only technically one killer bomb that's in the scene. Same with Mambu. And I initialize this as 0 because his position is calculated during play. He doesn't really have a set position because it's kind of like where the player is on the Y. It's kind of like where, and he's always going to start on the right side of the scene, outside the camera coming in. So I just do it, set it to 0. And then Mambu, however, is a little bit different. He actually, his Y is constant, but his X will be calculated. And then all the Susies, there's 8 Susies, and I have 2 different versions. There's the It's the positions of when they're, I use the move position to see if it's when it goes between the walls instead of the whole collision thing. So I have two different positions. So I got the left and the right, so that's why they're all these doubles, basically. But there's 8 Susies with 2 different positions. And then the bonus items, there's an extra life up there where the Sniper Joe is before you enter the last doorway, the life energies, and then the weapon energy, and then BombMan's position, and then the weapon part that gets dropped into the scene after you defeat him. So in the start, nothing here. Just we're going to set the scale resolution to 4:3, and then this is what's new. Before it didn't have the ability to. You'd have to set the palette before inside the inspector, and then the scene started. Well, you couldn't set it on the fly, so I had to fix that, and I incorporated those changes into the previous project, the changes project. So basically, in this case, we're dynamically setting the weapons menu palette to use the BombMan color scheme, and then this just start the music and everything like that. And the update's broken into the 5 phases. So you got the level play. So in the level play, we're just getting the player position, remove any objects that are outside the camera, then we spawn all the objects, and then we randomize the adhering Susies. Their movement isn't constant when they're going between the 2 walls. It's actually varies. So I added a little bit of randomness to their movement to try and mimic as close, somewhat to like what the game does. And then we just loop the audio between these 2 positions. So it kind of plays up to this point here, and then when it gets to here, then it loops back to this point. So the first part of the music track doesn't get into the loop. And then the boss fight. If you watch the boss fight video, it's basically the same concept. You're just basically kind of initializing everything through a timeline here. Toggle the doorway, put BombMan in there, and then fill his health bar, and then you basically start the fight. And during the fight, you're just going to basically be looping the boss fight music. And upon victory, then we do this tally score once the weapon parts collected, etc. So this is all very similar to the boss fight video. I don't remember which number it is, but you can always watch that, and I kind of go through that step by step of how you build out these little animation sequences and all that. This has always been here. Toggle doorway. This is like when I did the tile map video. So this is nothing new. This is basically opening a door, closing of the door. The only thing I did differently was I added in the ability to play the audio. So you can play the audio of the door sound clip, if it opens or closes. So you have the choice of playing that. And then we have these 2, the fill enemy health bar, and then the boss defeated. So this is when the boss gets defeated, and what we do is collecting the weapon part and instantiate. We have a bunch of instantiate functions in this to create these objects on the fly, the enemies, the things that you collect, etc. And so inside the boss defeated, we instantiate the weapon part at its position, and then we want it to be the orange. So throughout the changes, after the changes video, there were a lot of changes I made to enemies, the bonus items, etc. that you're not going to have that'll be in this project, but all the changes were in the previous project, and a lot of them came after the video too. Weapon part collected, which basically moves on to the next phase, which is the player victory. So then what I have here is this out of camera, which checks to see if this point is outside the camera, and this is how I basically will know if an object is outside the camera and to remove it from the scene, or if it hits the player hits a certain position to bring it back into scene to reinstantiate it. And this is kind of like the core right here, remove game objects. So what we do is we get the world view, and then what we're going to do is we're going to check for all the enemies, and then Killer Bomb and Mambu are a little bit different. So I'm not really going to go through how this exactly works, but we're going to see if their positions outside the camera. And we have this flag that says remove all. So if it's remove all, it's just going to take everything out of the scene. Remove all is usually mostly called from when you're doing a camera transition. So when the transition starts, any objects that are in that part of the scene, they all get taken out, and then he goes through the transition to move into the next part, and then all the objects are supposed to be inside of that scene, that part of the scene, come into play. So that's what the remove all is, just basically take everything out regardless of what it is. And so what we do is we look for, Killer Bomb or Mambu, because they operate a little bit differently when they exit the scene, because when they go to the left, they come back from the right. So there's a little bit, you have to deal with that. And then this is the part where they're moving onto the other side of the screen, so it's only them. And then otherwise, remove all explosions regardless, remove all bonus items regardless, remove all platform beams if they're in the scene, and bombs and bullets. So we'd get rid of all that stuff. If it's outside the camera view, or if this is true, then we just get rid of it too. Then move objects, and we just move things around if it's Killer Bomb or Mambu. And then I've added this change state. So it basically resets its timer. So when he goes back to close, so if he's like about to shoot bullets when he gets outside the camera there, you can call this, he basically resets his timer and starts over being closed when he comes back in from the right side. And then the reset following path, so that Killer Bomb starts his flight path over when he comes back from the other side. So it's not like he starts at the bottom and he's going to come back from the bottom, so it'll be basically starting from the beginning. So then I have a bunch of instantiates. So we have instantiate Kamadomas, instantiate the bomb launchers, screwdrivers, blasters. Basically all the objects have an instantiate that I've created for them because they're all a little bit different. And so we'll just go through all those, and then Susie's, and then BombMan and the extra lives, etc. We come through here, and then we have the spawn Kamadomas, which is in the first part of the update when we're in the level play section. So what I basically do is I check my X position and the tiled world position and the half tile. So by default, we saw it was half inside there. So what we say is half tile. So if we're in the middle, we're going to go half of the tile left and half of the tile right for this between. So basically, if the player's X is within the entire tile, that's when this is triggered. That's kind of basically come back as true for the between. So a lot of this is checking where you are in the world, what position you're at. Are you in a full tile, a half tile, etc. It just depends. And so if these conditions all come out to be true, then we're going to instantiate Kamadoma 1. There's 5 Kamadomas, so I just number them. And if the player happens to be in this part, etc., then it sets it back to false. And so position 1, tile 1 is basically will create them, and then tile 16. So if you come backwards, that's where tile 16 will come into play. So you're going back into the scene. If you play the original, you'll see you start traveling back, backwards, and they start, coming back to life. So a lot of Kamadomas. It's very much the same for all the parts of the scene. So I'm not going to go through each one of them. The bomb bombs are a little different. Now the timing with the bomb bombs, I couldn't get it 100% or even right, so I just kind of left it the way it was. So if you enter the scene with the bomb, it'll start at the right time. But if you happen to go into and then back, and there might be a point where 2 bombs kind of like are shooting at the same time, and I couldn't get it exactly the same as the game. So because I think the game is looking to see if there is no bomb in play, then to start the next one up that you basically triggered. So I couldn't get it to be 100%, so I was like, whatever, okay. So it's not exactly identical. You're never going to get it exactly identical anyway. So those are all the bombs. Then you got the screwdrivers and their positions and where they start up. And there's 3 of those guys. And Sniper Joe. Now, Sniper Joe is a little bit different. We haven't gotten to him yet, so we're just going to come back over here, and we're going to continue where we left off. So we're going to go up the ladder, and that's basically going to show all those guys. And if I exit back out, now that's the remove all I was talking about. So let's come over here. Let's just get those, and then you can see that they're going to come back. Go back down, and this part of the scene gets refilled back in. So then we'll come back up here. So there is a trigger actually on this transition. It's basically right here. So once I pass that, that's what triggers the screen transition. And then that transition, obviously, I'm basically halfway through it right now. So it's actually after the end of the transition, it moves to the bottom. It moves below me so that I can go back down. And then when it's done, it'll go back up to where it was. So basically, transitions move back and forth. Okay, you know, when on the post event. And we'll pause it right there. Let's just go take a look at that. So that's the post transition event, which is right here. So these are a little bit different with the Mambu and the Killer Bomb. And when you actually enter the second part with the Killer Bomb, where the death spikes and a really tall ladder to get up to the last part, there's Killer Bomb actually starts in the middle of the screen. So that's what this flag is all about. So this is the first transition at the end of the scene. So if you were to come back down, it would basically repopulate the screwdrivers, and then only screwdriver 2 and 3 are actually, you can see them in the scene, so that's why these are the only two that are, screwdriver 1 isn't instantiated as well. And then these three bonus items. And the camera transition will move to this back to its original position here. And then this is the blaster, so when I go up the ladder, this is the part that actually gets executed, and it'll drop in the 4 blasters, the big life energy, and it'll move, now this is camera 1, but obviously indexed to 0, so that'll move the camera, the Y position on that trigger to here, so that I can go back down. And then it'll basically make sure that the other transition, which is the one at the top of the ladder, and the top left of that screen will be in the right spot, so that I can move up it. So this is the post-transition event. So this is actually on all my transitions, transition triggers, which are right here. So you got 8 of them. Number 5, I believe. Number 5, I believe this is the one that goes to the doorway when you actually enter into the first part of BombMan's area. But otherwise, they're all basically ladder transitions here. So 1 through 4 and 6 through 8. So this is all the transitions of getting up into Sniper Joe, coming back down in the Gabioles, which we haven't come to yet, and then the Killer Bomb when you get into the scene which just has just the Killer Bomb. And the reason I have this can spawn Killer Bomb, make it as a public function because you need it to trigger when say you die, the checkpoint, so the checkpoint can call this, so it knows to start Killer Bomb up when you enter that scene again. And then we have the Mambu area, and then all the Susies. All the Susies are through here. So the first group is 1 through 4, and then the second group is 5 through 8. Because there's 2 sections of Susies, the first one and the second one. That's a little below the screen below. And then when you get to the last part, which is basically falling into the BombMan area, that's basically when the boss fight intro will start. So let's continue on with the game. So what I ended up doing also with these blasters in the other two, after the other video, was I changed, I believe, I added something to them. It was I think it was a start delay. Because if you look at the original first, I think it's these two. Number 2 and 4 actually open before 1 and 3, so there's a slight delay. It's pretty kind of like after the first bullet goes out of these, that the next ones open up. And I couldn't get the timing really 100%, but I think it's pretty close to the original. So let's go up the ladder. So then we're in here, and this is basically where Sniper Joe jumps out. And Sniper Joe basically jumps out when you hit right here. So let's pause that, and let's look at where Sniper Joe is. And let's see. Actually, he's not part of the post-transition event. Never mind. Duh. He's actually part of the spawn Sniper Joes. So all those functions at the top in there have to do with the spawning of the enemies when you hit certain parts in the scene. So those are all the instantiates, but you want the spawn events, or the spawn functions. So the spawn screwdriver, so here's spawn Sniper Joe. So basically this is where Sniper Joe is going to jump in, and my instantiate of Sniper Joe, which we should probably look at first, which is actually after that. Spawn the blasters. There's a lot of lines in this. So we want to instantiate. Here we go. So instantiate Sniper Joe, this is actually something new that I added, which is called set jump vector. So my instantiate of him, I have a vector 2 here, which is the velocity. So when you notice the Sniper Joes, they jump into the scene. When the player enters a certain point, they jump in. So this is basically the velocity to make him jump, and this is to set it up. Now that wasn't part of the original Sniper Joe code, this came in later. So Sniper Joe will jump into the scene, so pretty much like the original. And there he is. And the thing about Sniper Joe, you exit, he disappears, and he'll come back. He'll chase you around. And he basically jumps into the scene. So when you get down to this point here, killer bombs start appearing. And it's only one killer bomb, like I said. And it will just keep coming and keep going. And I got blasters. This is another group of blasters. Blasters 5 through 8, I believe. Or maybe it's 5 through 7. There's only 3 there. And then killer bomb's going to keep coming and coming. And then we have the gabules here. And so we'll just get past this part. So this is the next transition. So we move into this next transition here. And then this is where the midpoint starts. So when you get into this is where Killer Bomb starts in the middle. After that, then he basically starts wherever, kind of like where the position of Mega Man is. So I'm going to go up past this. The next part is Mambu. So there's Mambu, and he starts shooting. Now there's actually a problem like that with items being caught inside of the box glider. Now I ain't bother trying to fix that right now. I might do that later. I just wanted to kind of get this thing done, and it's kind of like one of those little touch-up things that you need to work on. So once you get past Mambu, he actually stops spawning when you actually get to this part here. So I'm just going to step right there, and he shouldn't come back anymore. And then when you get there, that's basically when the Sniper Joe jumps out here, protecting the 1-up. So we come in here, we're just going to grab that 1-up. We're going to come over here, and Sniper Joe is now bye-bye, because he's outside of the camera view. So we passed 4 camera transitions, I believe, and this is the last camera this is number 5 here. So we're going to go through, and then the door closes behind me, so now I'm locked in. Now the original kind of gets, stops right here, and you run, he kind of stays in place. I didn't bother adding another block here to keep him walking over here. It's fine. If he wants to run over here, it's okay. So then we're going to come down here to the Susies. So we're going to go down this ladder, and then we have the Susies. So their movement kind of varies a little bit, and there's a function to do that. So it's not very predictable. So I actually have it where it goes between 5 and 10 seconds to pick whether it should randomize the next randomization. And so kind of like the original a little bit. So we go past them, and then the next group, they randomize as well. So I'll just stop it right there. That is the randomization, which I'm sure there are other ways of doing this, but figured I'd just make it kind of simple. So I just check and see if I am within this world area here. half screen width, and I'm in basically like the middle of that tile area there. So if I am, then that's when this code is going to execute. So I have a variable at the top there that was pick the random Suzy movement. And it's going to be true, and I'm going to just pick a random delay between 5 and 10. And then I'm just going to count down from that number that was chosen there, and once it gets below or equal to 0, then I'm only going to do it with the odd numbered Suzys. I don't have to do it with all of them. So 1, 3 for the first screen, and 5, 7 with the second screen. So if it happens to be in the first screen, obviously if they're not equal to null, it won't, it'll execute. So if I'm only in the first screen and I haven't destroyed them, then these little blocks of code will execute. So I added something new to Suzy. I checked to see if Suzy is sleeping. So if Suzy is sleeping, I just wake Suzy up, and then I say, okay, it's okay to pick another random movement. So that's basically how I randomize them. So pick a random time, and then if they're asleep, wake them up. Once they sleep, wake them up. So then we're going to go back over here, and then we're just going to walk, go down here, fall in. And so this is the boss fight intro animation that's playing. And we're going to just kill this guy real quick. The damage override, you can see he's taking off 2 healths per bullet, just like the original. And so upon his defeat, and the weapon part gets instantiated and falls from this approximate area right here, similar to the original falls, and then once I collect it, then the victory tally will now happen. Calculating all my points and adding all that up. It was 100k that I got, and I must have collected 2 bonus balls during that. And then it takes me back to the next scene, which happens to be a stage select scene, and you can see that BombMan has been defeated. So I will stop it right there. And the rest of this, the post-transition events, you can go through. That's, like I said, it's a lot of lines of code. Actually, it's grown since it's like 1600. But there's a lot of things with spawning the Sniper Joes. Sniper Joe 2, Sniper Joe 3, the one that basically guards the door. This one guards the 1-up. And these are all on the first part, the Bomb launchers, the Chemodomas, and all the instantiates. So that's basically the code. You can check it out. Just go up into my GitHub, and then you can look at all of it and see how it was all put together. So anyway, it's not too long of a video. It's only about a half hour, a little bit over. So that brings us to the end of the video and the end of the series. Now, I'm still going to probably put out, projects here and there, but I'm not going to be making any more videos for them. So you watched all my previous videos, you'll basically get the idea of how I put them together and everything like that. So you can just kind of look at the code after. And if you have any questions, I have a link to my Discord server, so you can go join that and post your questions, and I'll answer them whenever I'm on there. And so that brings us to the very end, and I want to thank everybody that was, that's been with me from the beginning, and all the people that have subscribed, everybody that's watched the videos and given the likes and joined the server. And the next game I think I'm gonna do Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and then we'll see what's going to be after that. Anyway, have a good day, stay safe out there, and I'll catch you at the next project. Bye.